first of the tragedy that emerged just over an hour ago in southern Russia. At least 18 people are now thought to have died and dozens injured in a suspected suicide bombing.
Well, authorities say that the blast took place right at the entrance to the central train station in Volgograd, right near the metal detectors. Usually this is where lots of people gather in a queue.
Another explosion in the city of Volgograd, less than 24 hours. It happened on a trolley bus this time as it passed by a market during the Monday morning rush hour. At least 10 people confirmed dead in this blast. This less than 24 hours after another blast happened at the city's main train station there.
And now back to our breaking news story this hour. Protests are escalating in Ukraine with reports of up to 15 policemen injured in unrest.
It's the Arab Spring's forgotten revolution. Nearly 3 years have gone by since the people of Bahrain, inspired by events in Tunisia and Egypt, rose up against an oppressive regime and demanded reform.
Well, it looks like the anti-government forces are winning on that. Now, of course, these protests have grown even stronger because of the police reaction. Police reacted very, very poorly to the protests that began on November 21st. There was two significant clashes that turned violent because of police action.
Still clashing with the police, and we saw the police deploying their water cannon, we saw tear gas used. The central gathering had been in Taksim Square earlier on this evening.
Has been arrested and charged in connection with that so-called knockout game. Let's take a quick look at the attack that happened. This is what usually goes down. It's a sucker punch to a complete stranger, and they take off.
Alvin Barrett. They say that in late November, he approached a 79-year-old African-American man, hit him so hard in the jaw that he fell to the ground, and then allegedly Barrett laughed as he said, quote, knockout.
Oh, look at that fucking drop. Dude, this guy did.
Alabama football has been charged with the murder of another Alabama fan after their loss in the Iron Bowl this weekend, and the reason given for the murder is that the victim was not sad enough about the loss.
For deadly violence to erupt in Egypt today as the Muslim Brotherhood calls for mass rallies across that country.
A Wisconsin police officer now sentenced after getting caught on tape violently tossing a female suspect into an interview room. Watch.
Oh my God.
Is there a problem?
Yeah.
What is that?
Problem being, your neighbor doesn't like you.
That's not my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is when he starts calling you about things being done here that goes against the village ordinance.
Well, a newspaper investigation has exposed how agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms use mentally disabled men to help promote their undercover sting operations before arresting and charging them.
Brianna Breton is a 29-year-old pregnant nurse from Pennsylvania. who, after reading the package insert on a flu vaccine, she decided to dig a little bit deeper. And what she found gave her cause for concern for the health of her unborn child. Well, when she presented this evidence to her employer at the hospital for a reason to opt out of the flu vaccine, they decided to fire her.
And an unarmed, mentally ill man has just been charged with assault in an incident where police officers shot 2 innocent bystanders near Times Square. The man being charged is Glenn Broadnax, and police are holding him at fault for the injuries because they say he instigated the incident.
So, David, what is the latest news coming out of North Carolina?
Well, there was a peaceful protest of a 17-year-old who died in the back of a police car. Now, he had been arrested for a misdemeanor. He was handcuffed in the back of the police car and shot in the head. That was about a month ago. And last night they had a vigil that went to the Durham Police Department, and that got very violent. It's about 150 to 200 people, and we've got a clip of that.
Okay.
They were clearly upset with the fact that people were out expressing themselves and upset over the fact that it appears that they murdered a 17-year-old child. They didn't really look like batons or nightsticks, but they were a little thinner and longer, and they were reaching over the banner, whacking people.
3 Los Angeles police officers fatally shot a mentally ill, unarmed man.
A Kansas 7th grader banned from handing out event flyers at school because her flyers contained some Bible verses. Meanwhile, the school is fine with posters about dead rappers and drugs, but not a flyer that includes a Bible verse.
A grand jury in North Carolina failed to indict a police officer who put a dog inside the vehicle of a suspect that they had been pursuing in a high-speed chase. So cops finally stopped him by crashing into him. As you can see, he's trapped at this point, right? He can't get out. And then one of the cops, his name is Stafford Brister, takes the police dog and puts him inside the car along with the person that they were pursuing, Johnny Williams.
A group has unveiled designs for a 7-foot-tall statue of Satan that it wants at the Oklahoma State Capitol. The New York-based Satanic Temple says if Oklahoma can put a 10 Commandments statue on the Capitol grounds, they should be able to put their statue on the grounds as well. KOCO's Rob Hughes is live at the State House to show us what this statue looks like. Good morning, Rob.
Katie, good morning. And that statue they want put right next to the 10 Commandments here at the state capitol. And I want to show you what this is going to look like. Take a look here. It's a 7-foot-tall, goat-headed demon sitting on a throne with 2 children next to it. The group Satanic Temple says it's formally submitted its application, and they are moving forward with plans, even though a state commission's put a moratorium on new requests. The commission says it wants to wait until a lawsuit over the 10 Commandments monument is settled. And right now the 10 Commandments monument is on display here at the state capitol. Reporting live at the Capitol, I'm Rob Hughes, KOCO 5 News.
This story will get your attention. The FBI has the capability to hijack your computer webcam without you ever knowing it.
You ready? This Detective Alex Murphy and officer down.
We are on the eve of a technological revolution.
We need to give Americans a figure they can rally behind. Give your mom a kiss.
Hi, baby.
Too slow, boy. We're gonna put a man inside a machine.
He suffered fourth-degree burns over 80% of his body. If he survives, he'll be paralyzed from the waist down, confined to a wheelchair.
You say you can save him, but what does that mean? What kind of life will he have?
What kind of suit is this? It's not a suit, it's you.
What the hell did you do to me?
Make him more tactical, make him look, let's go with black. When the machine fights, the system releases signals into Alex's brain, making him think he's in control. But he's not. It's the illusion of free will.
I've selected 13 targets, all wanted for murder.
This is the future of American justice.
You need to speak to your son.
Somehow, he's overriding the system's priorities.
The human element will always be present. Compassion, fear, instinct, they will always interfere with the system.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Detective Alex Murphy and officer down.
We are on the eve of a technological revolution. Now, it also broke this weekend that Google purchased Boston Dynamics. This is the 8th robotics firm that they purchased in the last 6 months. And this one raised a lot of eyebrows because of their close connections to DARPA. We've also got, of course, their program for self-driving cars, their dominance with maps. But look at these. We've got robots now that are walking and running, militarized robots, robot arms, robotic facial expressions, and a super strong robot called the Shaft. Even has red hydraulic fluid to look like blood.
This may look like your typical battle between Alliance and Horde members in the virtual world of Warcraft, but to the NSA, this could also be a secret terrorist gathering. Today, ProPublica reported that the NSA and British spies have infiltrated online gaming platforms like World of Warcraft and Second Life.
You have interviewed every president of my lifetime. Why is Obama facing so much opposition now? Why is he struggling so much to really fulfill the great flame of ambition and excitement that he was elected on originally in 2009?
Well, you've touched on it to a degree. He made so many promises. We thought that he was going to be, I shouldn't say this at Christmas time, but the next Messiah, the next Messiah.
There's also an unseen war brewing against freedom of religion. Particularly Christians are being burned alive, beheaded, crucified, and tortured to death. Some are in prison, but most people aren't even aware of it.
19-year-old Valerie Dodds is a nude model. She has her own website. And recently, while she was in Nebraska, she decided to make a visit to the Catholic high school that she went to. So apparently she's been getting a lot of criticism from her peers and from former teachers because now she does basically online porn. And so she broke into the school. She was trespassing, obviously. She was completely nude, and she proceeded to masturbate with a crucifix.
A Duck Dynasty star suspended indefinitely from the hit show after making some controversial comments during a magazine interview. Phil Robertson says, like many devout Christians, he thinks that homosexuality is a sin.
Wedding bells will ring on top of this float on New Year's Day.
Gay men and lesbians can now legally get married in the state of California.
Now, this man may be put to death in Saudi Arabia, as a judge there says he should face charges of rejecting Islam. People put in ovens, entire families kidnapped, Christians and Alawites executed. These horrifying reports come to RT from the town of Adra, north of the Syrian capital.
Russia. So how do you think that the president can balance all the delicate foreign policy issues but still take a decisive stand on human rights? Because so many people consider President Obama to be the first gay president.
It's been a long time coming. But tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Do you think it's appropriate to have a threat of jail time for those who refuse to buy insurance?
There's nothing wrong with a penalty. Now, what those penalties are, I think they have to be high enough that people don't game the system.
Well, it appears Big Brother may indeed be watching you as you eat junk food, lay on the couch, and don't exercise. Chief National Correspondent Jim Angle tonight tells us about another way the president's health care overhaul may be stripping away your privacy and your money in the name of good health.
You may not need a whole panic room, but one top financial advisor is recommending that you have a bug-out bag. It includes a gun and ammunition, and all of this is just in case of a financial apocalypse. Well, Trace Gallagher from our West Coast Bureau with more. Trace.
Yeah, it's David John Murata. He's a very well-known financial advisor, very well-respected, and he's a contributor for Forbes magazine. So yeah, Shannon, when he says get a survival kit that includes a gun, you might imagine it raises a few eyebrows. Now,
contrary to what many people believe, homelessness is still very much an epidemic here in the United States. Perhaps the greatest snapshot of that is New York City, where poverty has just reached its highest levels since the Great Depression of the 1930s.
Well, some video that you're about to see is pretty incredible. Take a look at what happens when a tornado rips through a middle school in Indiana. You can see this gym completely torn apart in just seconds.
Satara is 30 years old, raising 4 children with very little money in Herat, Afghanistan. And she says when her husband, an addict, demanded she hand over her jewelry to buy more heroin, she refused. So, she says, he cut off her nose and lips.
Survivors described horrific scenes of brutal executions and of people being used as human shields.
Fox News alert: a massive explosion rocking Beirut overnight, killing a former ambassador of the U.S. and 4 others.
Children as young as 8 years old are being held and tortured across a network of secret Islamist prisons in Syria, according to shocking new reports. The jails are operated by one of the fiercest rebel groups, the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant. Its practices and laws are so harsh that Amnesty International has equated it to a reign of terror.
Turning our attentions now to rising tensions in Eastern Europe after new reports that Russia is deploying missiles to a small piece of territory on the Baltic Sea called Kaliningrad.